Hey everyone, welcome back to A Geeks Garage. So it's another very cold day out here. It's about 20 degrees inside the garage. You may or may not see the vent and exhaust coming out of my mouth. But we're gonna head back into A Geeks basement where it's much warmer, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna hopefully finish up the rebuild of the turbochargers. So stay tuned. We'll get that going. One other thing of note is that the engine is done at the builders. I need to go and pick it up. Probably won't be putting it back for at least another month because it's just way too cold out here. But stay tuned. Hopefully soon we're going to get going with rebuilding that engine. For the most part, the reassembly is pretty easy. Basically, this is the diagram that shows the order that all the parts go in, and using this as well as the video that I had tearing it down, I was able to kind of go through and figure out exactly how to put it back together. Alright, it is the next day here at A Geeks Basement. Ran into one problem in trying to put the turbos back together. I needed a torque wrench that could do inch-pounds. So thanks to the magic and miracle of Amazon, we now have a torque wrench that can do inch-pounds, and I can finish these things up, and this will be it for the turbo build. In the teardown video, I mentioned the fact that the impellers on both sides need to be properly aligned in order to be balanced. So one thing to watch for when you're going ahead and retorquing these bolts on, one of the things that I found was that the and you can even kind of see it in the video there, the impellers are going to kind of move on you a little bit. It seems to be a little bit of an art to get them to torque down properly and stay in the proper alignment. So, but make sure that you definitely do that because it's important. Having a towel or a rag to kind of use to lock it in place definitely made a big difference in trying to get them aligned. Kind of kept them from spinning, didn't cut up my hand, and it made sure that I didn't overly bend any of the little fins in the impellers. Probably notice that I'm having a little bit of trouble getting the C-clamp or C-ring in here to hold the thing in place. The thing that I found is that it really does take a little bit of force to get it to seat properly. It'll actually snap into place when you're putting that cartridge into the compressor area. So what I ended up doing is actually adding a little bit of weight by putting the other side of the turbo on, which added a little bit of extra weight to it, so that when I did try and put it in, it was able to force in and kind of snap into a little bit better spot. And that's one turbo down. Let's get the other one done. You may notice that I sort of pause here for a second. The reason for that is I need to actually go through and undo some of the stuff I just did. Make sure when you're reassembling these things that you put the C-clamps or snap rings in place around the cartridge first before you actually attach it, because otherwise you're going to have to tear it all back down again in order to put the clamp on there, or the C-ring on. Also, make sure that you orient that C-clamp properly. You want to make sure that when it flips over, the C-clamp is properly angled. There's a cut on the C-clamp, and you want to make sure that that's facing up as you're putting it in, so that it properly slides into place. One other suggestion, make sure that you check the alignment of the hoses that will attach to the turbos afterwards, especially the oil and the coolant lines. You'll notice that I actually had to undo things and move stuff around again because basically the bolt to tighten the clamp down was aligned improperly and you wouldn't have been able to attach the oil lines. And there we go. I've never had a turbo in any of my cars before, so I can only imagine it's going to work like the 80s movies and TV shows of my childhood, so this is fully what I'm expecting to happen. Watch out! And with that, the turbos are rebuilt. I'm going to set them aside. Obviously, I'm not going to need them for a little while. I still got a gaping hole in the middle of the engine compartment. But until we get the engine back, I think next steps in here, there's a few things that need to get done prior to even putting the engine back in here. I want to drain the gas tank, so I'm going to be looking into that. And hopefully there'll be a video coming out soon just showing how I ended up draining the gas tank. I got a couple different ideas on how to do it. And the other thing is I want to just clean up the engine compartment. 120,000 miles and 30 years of grime and stuff inside the engine compartment. It probably won't be able to do as much of a cleaning as I'd really like to. With it being the middle of winter, I can't really run a power washer in here. But we'll do what we can, get things a little cleaned up. I also need to replace the power steering pump. I want to get that done well before I put the engine back in because it's a really tight fit. So those are just a couple of the things coming up, and then quite frankly I really need to go through all the parts that I pulled off of the car and just start getting some of them cleaned up and prepped so that we're ready when the engine comes in. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. See ya.